NXT remains the most fun wrestling show to watch because I'm always going to get my laugh on. And there's always some crazy stuff happening. Welcome to 3 Count Commentary. So obviously, I'm going to be talking about NXT from February the 22nd, 2022, or 2/2/22. A lot of twos in today's date. Things like a once in a lifetime type of thing here. Hope you enjoyed your day. All right, so NXT News and Notes. Let's see what we got here. A couple of things. I did watch Level Up. It was a mistake, but I did watch it. I just wanted to see Quinn McKay because I was used to seeing her in Ring of Honor. It was all right. I saw Idris Inoue beat Kushida, and I was like, I am never watching this show again. I'm not watching this shit again. But it was all right. It was just kind of like an extra 30 minutes of NXT. That's really what it was. But it was no storyline, so it wasn't as fun. And that's usually what makes NXT so much fun and the most fun stuff to watch. All right. You've probably seen on all of the British wrestling websites, Jazzy Gabbert, who used to be in NXT UK, alleged that she was bullied in the London Performance Center. I'm going to save you the story, but there is basically, she is a German-born wrestler. So she was in NXT UK in 2017. So I'm going to go through some of the accusations that she claimed. We're not going to be here all day. So she says, I entered a room and I could hear everyone is laughing and having fun. I entered the room and everyone gets quiet. I mean, I don't care. I don't need friends in the business, but it's like, what? Or when we had to do team exercises, everyone would run away, and I'm like, oh man, they made me feel like a bad person. So that's one of her examples of people bullying her. This might be perception. None of this stuff might have anything to do with her. I know sometimes I think we all get a little skittish, sometimes when people stop doing something or they're looking at you for a long time or something like that. You think there's a problem, you think there's something going on, but really it's kind of not, and plus we don't know how well she's describing the situation that occurred, because this was 5 years ago, when she was in NXT UK. So we don't know. Then she says, my promos are getting better from time to time, and everyone from the office is like, hey, good job. And then one day we had an exercise where we had to write a promo for another person. I won't mention her name, but what she did was like, what the hell? So I write a really nice promo for her, and I was really excited. So I gave it to her, and then I get my sheet from her, and I'm seeing English words I've never seen in my life. Like, English is my second language. So this promo was full of words I've never seen in my life, and I'm like, I can't do this promo. Like, I can't. And I start crying because I am stupid. And I'm standing in front of all these people, and I'm so embarrassed because I can't do it. It was just so embarrassing for me. And I can see the promo writers smile on their face. And in wrestling, you should support one another, especially girls. So why would you do that? That's interesting. At the same time, if you speak English, it's kind of, they don't know the extent of which that you speak English. Like, we don't know how much this other person knew that she spoke English. We don't have enough information here. It's like, if I write something for somebody, and I used to do this, I used to write stuff for people in college courses. I used to sometimes write things in a way where people could clearly understand that the person who is saying that they wrote it did not write it. You may form your sentences a certain way, you write your essays a certain way, and then if you see that other person writing, especially if you know they're writing, you know that they didn't write it. So it's hard to gauge somebody else's level of education, right? It's hard to, I can't say this is bullying, because who knows what the girl knew about her level of English, Like, I've never seen any of these words in my life. It's like, I don't know, Like, I don't know what to tell you. If you wrote her promo in English, she wrote your promo in English, how was that bullying? I don't know. Like, if you didn't know the words, it's kind of be a little embarrassing. I get that, but you can just say, hey, look, my English is not that good. What does this word mean? What does this word mean? But this is coming across like, watching that episode of Good Times where they talk about how the IQ test is racist because, certain black people don't know certain words. And you have to say, like, what's preventing them from knowing these words? Nothing? Then how is it racist? Like, these words exist. What's preventing you from knowing these words? Oh, well, we don't use them. It's like, maybe you should. It's not the white man's fault you don't know how to read. They put books everywhere. It's like nobody's fault. Like, you can go down to the library and pick up a dictionary. Nobody's preventing you from learning certain words. But, when English is your second language, it's a little bit different. So I'll give her some credit and say, I understand that would be embarrassing if you literally can't, pronounce, certain words and stuff like that. I get it. And I think that everybody else would have understood that too, because people aren't idiots. If you said English is my second language, I've been in speech classes with plenty of people who English is their second language, and they stumble, they mispronounce words, and they get through it. I don't know. Like, I don't know what this person, I don't know. But this is the biggest thing that she claimed. She says, one day, I won't mention her name, but one girl, she hit me so hard on my injured neck that my neck snapped backwards and my legs felt numb and I fell down. I then look at the coach and he freaking turns around. I didn't see anything. And she did it on purpose. I stand up and I say to her, why are you doing this? She says, this is how I do it. So I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, what can you do in this moment? You can't do nothing. I'm guessing she's talking about another performer. And, another performer hit her in the neck and she had an injured neck. Doesn't sound like she stood up for herself. Now, Jazzy Gabber's a pretty big girl, And I understand that just because she's big doesn't mean that she's tough. And doesn't mean that she has, everything together. But I would think that if you were injured and somebody, purposefully tried to re-injure you, as she claims, you would not have just taken that laying down. It was probably an accident. And I'm not saying it wasn't. I'm not saying that she didn't do it on purpose, but we're also talking about somebody else's perception. In this instance, it is your perception that somebody did this on purpose. She might not have even known you were hurt. We don't know what the other person knows. So I just felt like this is part of NXT. It's from 2017. It's something worth discussing. But then there was a little bit more recent backstage stuff that involves Shawn Michaels. Since Shawn Michaels is, the writer of NXT, we might as well bring that up too. And talk about his apparent run-in with Dax Harwood. So I heard the audio, but I'm not going to play the audio because who knows, they might get copyright strikes. So I'm going to have to read what occurred. So apparently in 2018, people are talking about old instances, of course. Dax Harwood was doing a thing with DX, the Revival. They were about to do this beatdown. DX is going to beat up the Revival. So this is what Dax Harwood had to say. For a lot of guys, it's like a paycheck, but not to me. There's a legacy I want to leave, but that happened, and I talked to Shawn. That was the first time we had spoken since the Performance Center days. I told him, man, this happened, tore my bicep, went through a really dark period. I thought I was going to quit, but thankfully I had the greatest wife in the world, and she supported me and brought me out of this funk and out of this dark place, and I'm here now. I'm super happy. He said I was the same way. I was in a very dark spot that my wife, she's beautiful, she pulled me out of this dark spot too. You and your partner are way too talented to be doing what you're doing tonight. You are just way too talented to stay at this point. Just keep your nose to the ground and keep grinding and you'll get over. And I said, oh, Shawn, thank you so much. We had this bonding moment, and then we got in front of his friends. Dax Harwood continued. X-Pot, Hunter, Billy Gunn, Road Dogg, Scott Hall. And as soon as we got in front of his friends, he started making fun of me and making fun of my situation and what happened with my bicep. And I was like, man, I poured my heart out to you. And as soon as we get in front of your friends, because we're going over that they're going to beat the shit out of us, you decide to take all that stuff and make fun of me about it. He says, I'll never forget it. And as soon as we're done with the business at Raw, one person said thank you to us, and that was Sean Waltman. Everyone else was so cold to us and treated us like we were shit at the bottom of their shoes, except for Sean Waltman. I'll never forget that from Sean, and I hope there's a day that comes that we can have a conversation and I can ask him why he did that. and we can reconcile if he wants to. If I love you, I love you. If I don't, I don't. So this was burning up the internet for like, I don't know, 6 hours. You know, it was just so many people talking about Shawn still being a dickhead even after he found Christ. And it's like, yeah, Shawn was still a dickhead even after he found Christ. He just wasn't as bad. And I think people thought that Shawn was somehow baptized and all of a sudden all of his bad behavior went away. It's like, no. It's not. No, it didn't. You can get some Shawn Michaels stories. I think Shane Helms had a Shawn Michaels story of a post-Christ Shawn Michaels story of him being a dickhead to him. Rob Van Dam obviously has, post-Christ Shawn Michaels stories of him being a douchebag. Shawn, he may have eased up a little bit, but it says a lot that even in 2018, he was still pretty bad. Because this is some asshole stuff. The guy told you he tore his bicep, and that shit kind of ruined his life, and he's, down in the dumps about it. And then, say, hey, Shawn went on and made fun of me about, oh, my bicep or whatever. Still, not sure. Obviously, we're getting one person's side of the deal. So it's impossible to know what the situation was. Maybe it was just, what he thought was playful ribbing and, Harwood took it seriously or whatever the case may be. But this is a business where everybody gets hurt. And, sometimes these guys, they do take it a little seriously when they get hurt. So I'm willing to give Harwood a little bit of leeway on this due to, knowing the history of Shawn's behavior and knowing that it's not, like Shawn came back from, in 2002 and was a Boy Scout from that point forward. It's like, no, him and Jericho had issues. Shawn was still not easy to work with. He was still Shawn Michaels. People's personalities don't change that much. He may not have been as bad as 1996 Shawn Michaels. Still doesn't mean he wasn't a dickhead. And of course, when dickheads get around each other, like him and Hall and Nash, they're all just absolute idiots. If you listen to a Kevin Nash shooter interview, Kevin Nash doesn't give a fuck about none of this stuff, man. and it is what it is. So I'm not surprised that when Dax, a lot of people say, oh, I don't believe it. Shawn has changed. I say he could have changed, and this still is within his character to do, because people don't change that much, So, he probably didn't think it was that big of a deal also. But I like that Dax Harwood said, hey, we can reconcile if we want to. And a lot of other people took it seemingly very seriously. So I felt like it needed to be something that was on the list of things that we could talk about as far as NXT. So there's a lot of NXT news and notes that we had to hit. And I really did not like the Raw 25 thing anyway. I don't like when, guys just get beat up. And if you're going to do a thing, they should give as good as they get. That's just as far as I'm concerned. I think the Revival should have got a little bit out of it. But I'm also in a position where I'm kind of like, I don't even remember that. I don't remember it that well. I think it was that 2-part Raw where it was like half in the Manhattan Center and half in another building. And the only thing they really did in the Manhattan Center was the DX stuff, the cross chopping and beating up on the Revival. But people go through that. And I want to say that too before we move on to NXT. A lot of people do stuff that is like when he talked about, hey, it's not just a paycheck. It was, I want to leave a legacy. It's like, yeah, but guys do this stuff all the time. There's always going to be a point in time in most people's careers where they're not positioned the best. Unless you're the Road Warriors or something like that. Like you're some oddity like the Ultimate Warrior or something like that. You usually go through a situation where you get embarrassed on TV. Some older guy takes advantage of you, beats your ass, makes fun of you, kicks you around. And it doesn't matter whether you think it's right or wrong or not. This is, these are guys. They see it as, a light hazing. You're building up camaraderie with the group and stuff like that. You see if you could take a joke. How serious do you take yourself? That kind of thing. And Scott Hall is, number one when it comes to that. He's talked about this stuff in numerous shoot interviews, that if you take yourself too seriously, that just makes you a target for those guys. And that's why he fucked with Goldberg. That's why he fucked with Brett. He likes fucking with people who take themselves too seriously. And Dax Harwood seems to be that kind of a guy, where he takes what he was doing very seriously. And in doing so, they were like, let's fuck with him because he's taking this shit way too seriously. And sometimes what we do need people who take the business seriously. But at the same time, back to what I was saying, there's going to be a time where, you're going to lose that handicap match that you shouldn't have lost, where you got beat up by that old man you shouldn't have got beat up by, and if you continue to do things right and you get the nod every once in a while, you eventually move on from that, and it doesn't matter anymore. Like you can go back and see how many times your favorite wrestler has been embarrassed in a segment. Like William Regal kissing Jim Ross's ass or something like that. It's like, that's part of his history, but at the same time, is it the biggest part of his history? No. It's just something that occurred at one point in time, when he was the low man on the totem pole, and that shit happens. When Triple H got buried by the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania, it happens. You're the low man on the totem pole. It happens. If everybody wants to, just clutch their spot and say, I want to leave a legacy. I want to be this. I want to be that. It's like, there is some good to that, but there's also some bad to it. I want to give Dax Harwood some credit because I really do like FTR, and I like that he was willing to take himself seriously on this. And it's not a situation where you could have went to Vince and say, I'm not doing it. There's too many stars on the other side. Like, you're really not going to sell for Shawn Michaels and Scott Hall and Kevin Nash and all these guys? Like, who the fuck do you think you are? So it makes sense that he would be concerned about his positioning in the company after that point. And so this is a very interesting subject, and I'm spending a little too much time on it. So we need to get to NXT at some point. All right, so almost 20 minutes into the video, we're going to finally get to NXT. Oh boy. All right. So Braun Breaker starts to show off. Braun Breaker talks about Santos Escobar was tough, but the only way you're getting this NXT title is over his dead body. And now he's on the road to Dallas, stand and deliver. Dolph Ziggler comes out and starts talking very fast and says that he's going to have to carry Braun Breaker, put him over his shoulder, carry him to Dallas. And it says that after he stomps out the final breaths of Tommaso Ciampa, then he says that you're a tough guy in your Canadian tuxedo, which Braun Breaker told him to shut the hell up. He doesn't get paid to dress up. He gets paid to kick ass. And he says that Braun Breaker is the man in Orlando. But the moment he stepped off his plane, stepped into this building, he was the biggest star in the place. And that he doesn't want any receipts. He doesn't want any eye for an eye. He wants him banned from ringside. And Braun Breaker essentially agreed not to come back out later to do anything. So later in the show, Ciampa is working out. He's lifting the weights. And Braun Breaker walks in and wishes him well and says that he looks forward to the match and he's going to be watching the match closely, but he's not going to have Ciampa's back on this one. Ciampa kind of in the zone, pumping the iron. He's very tan. He's tan and he's shredded. He's pumping that iron because he knows, hey, if I have to leave NXT, I need to get jacked, baby. So Ciampa says that they're 1-1, and he's very interested in that rubber match. He wants to know who's the better man. And Braun is like, okay, cool. You got to win this match, though. Unfortunately, Tommaso Ciampa did not win this match. Dolph Ziggler defeated Tommaso Ciampa in the main event of the show with the super kick after Robert Roode bashed Tommaso Ciampa in the head with a camera. This was a great finish. This is a fantastic match. Dolph Ziggler absolutely oversells pretty much everything, right? He is a bump-taking machine. He doesn't take like silly bumps like Sammy Guevara or Darby Allin or anything like that. He takes very serious, flat bumps. Like, he just lays out, and it's like every time Dolph Ziggler takes a bump, you could sketch the outside of his body like a murder scene. Like, he really sells everything. So he made Tommaso Ciampa look really good here. After the match, Rude and Ziggler are throwing a party. They're so happy that they helped each other. And then Braun Breaker runs down to the ring and they fight. The Dirty Dogs, they flee. Then Braun Breaker calls out and says, hey, how about a tag match next week? But if you guys got balls, we'll fight tonight. That was all they needed to hear. So then they got back together and they brawled until the show went off the air. Great scene. Really fun stuff. I was talking about it on Raw that Robert Roode needed to be involved in this angle since he was a former NXT champion. And now we see that he is. Now, and so this was good. This was good storytelling. They held off on Robert Roode rather than not using him. They just decided to hold off on him and introduced him in a way that makes Tommaso Ciampa continue his look of being a strong guy in NXT, but he also got to drop the match. So Tommaso Ciampa didn't lose in his home base, clean rather. Maybe putting Dolph over clean would have made more sense, considering Dolph is going to be challenging for the title. At the same time, it's Dolph Ziggler. He's been around forever. Does he really need a clean win? Not really, But this match was phenomenal, and I think these two guys have great working together. Dolph Ziggler's going to make an excellent opponent for Braun Breaker at Stand and Deliver. I don't know if now what they said, and from what I have seen, Stand and Deliver is going to be early in the day, and WrestleMania is going to be at night. And Braun Breaker and Dolph Ziggler is going to be the main event of that show, and it's going to be in a separate arena. So they're going to have two arenas in Dallas, and they're going to try to task NXT 2.0 with filling up that arena. That's a lot to ask for. For this new crop, like, I love NXT 2.0 or NXT. I just call it NXT. It's still NXT, right? Seeing this crew and how green a lot of them are, I think it's a lot to ask for, to ask them to sell out a real arena. I would have preferred if they did Stand and Deliver similarly to how they did it last year, where it was 2 nights and it was Tuesday on TV and Wednesday on Peacock. I don't see why they didn't do that again. Even if you wanted to say, well, they don't have the talent that they had then, it's like, yes, they do. You have Carmelo Hayes, he could main event one night, and you have Braun Breaker, he can main event the second night. And you can also have the women's title, separate those, Mandy Rose on one night, the other half of Toxic, or other 2/3 of Toxic Attraction the next night, and you could do that. And it seems like they didn't have that much faith in them, but they're also taking them out on the road, which is very strange. But I believe that NXT will do okay. I think most people will be all right to see these kids. And if they don't sell out the building, hey, it's been going on for 4 months or something like that. It ain't been that long. So they're throwing them in the deep end, and I'm all okay with that because kids have to learn, Gotta learn to draw. Going out there and make that money. Or not, it's up to you. All right, the first match on the show was Grayson Waller defeating LA Knight with a cradle and tight pull. The crowd was 100% behind LA Knight on this night. This was a fun match with Grayson Waller pretty much just getting beat up the whole match, and I still hate his outside the ring rolling thing, and LA Knight countered it beautifully into like a back suplex. It was pretty sweet, and to do all of that rolling outside the ring into the ring just to get countered was pretty funny to me. The finish was that Sanga distracted LA Knight. Then you had it wasn't really a low blow, but it was kind of like a low blow where he reached way under to pull his tights and pulled him all the way through, and it was pretty blatant, pretty blatant tight pull. So Grayson Waller won, but LA Knight beat them up after the match, so he really He lost, but he got his pops back pretty quickly. So they ran off. This thing is clearly not over. LA Knight later said he was the last man standing in their whole situation, which of course is teasing a last man standing match. And I like that. That is good. That is good and fine. I don't mind Grayson Waller. I think they did destroy a lot of his momentum when he lost to AJ Styles. That was their fault. He could have taken that one loss and still been okay, but they took their foot off the gas for some reason. And I have no idea why. But they're going to have trouble getting out all that heat they built up. They're going to have trouble getting that back. All right. Because there's no more Johnny Garganos for him to beat up. That's just unfortunate. There aren't anymore. All right. So Dakota Kai is walking around in an absolute stupor. And she finds Wendy Choo and asks Wendy Choo, like, what is going on here? You signed me up for the Dusty Cup. And Wendy Choo was like, yep, sure did. And she was like, wow, why didn't you tell me? And she was like, oh, I told your friend. And Dakota Kai's like, my friend? What the hell are you talking about? She's like, the person you always talking to. And Dakota Kai was definitely confused. Then explains that her track record with partnerships don't really work out and kind of lead into, when she turned on Candice LeRae and then when she turned on Raquel Gonzalez. And then Wendy Choo just kind of says, well, you didn't have a partner like me before. And then she, toddles off or whatever. And then Dakota Kai is whispering to herself like she picked us. And then she said, she picked me. And then, maybe the third time's the charm. So are they doing a split personality thing with Dakota Kai now where, you have crazy talking to herself Dakota Kai and then normal everyday Dakota Kai? Look, I don't get it. I don't get it, man. Again, Dakota Kai, the ghost of NXT past. The ghost of NXT past. But this was very fun. I liked this segment. Cora Jade and Raquel Gonzalez. Cora Jade says, we've been training for 2 weeks your way. Now we're going to train my way. And Raquel Gonzalez is, flummoxed because there's like this sky jungle gym. And I don't know I don't know what to call it. It's like an obstacle course off the ground. And Raquel Gonzalez is scared of heights. And she says, I catch people who jump off to high things. I don't do high things. So, as a friendship sort of bonding experiment, Cora Jade says, trust me, we're going to help you get over your fear of heights. And they go and start doing all this stuff. And Raquel Gonzalez is really scared of climbing through the big wooden circles and climbing stuff. And she's scared. And it was cute. It was real cute. Cute bonding stuff. Then they started talking about zip lining. And Raquel Gonzalez didn't want to do zip lining at all. Cora Jade gave her a bit of a pep talk. And they ended up doing the zip lining. Raquel Gonzalez had fun. Once it was all over, she thanked Cora Jade for helping her get over her fear of heights. And now they're ready to compete in the Dusty Cup because now they're friends. This is the power of friendship. And they train in their unique ways while having fun. And this was very wholesome stuff. You can see this as an episode of Leave It to Beaver or something like that. Gosh, what are we going to do up there? I'm so scared. Like an episode of Scooby-Doo. It was silly. I liked it though, as silly as it was, I liked it because it's showing that they're taking their team seriously and Raquel is willing to try out Cora's way of doing things, just like, after forcing Cora to do things her way. They're the favorites, no doubt. We are introduced to the Toxic Lounge, which is basically just a couch that can fit all three members of Toxic Attraction. They need just like some extras, like some oily guys or something right there, with like plates of grapes or something like that. That would be a little bit more fun. But it was just basically a couch off to the corner where they're going to be watching the Women's Dusty Cup. And they made fun of Cora Jade and Raquel Gonzalez, saying that they're going to go roller skating or go to a metal concert. Then they made fun of Io Shirai and Kaylee Ray Mandy Rose said that they're losers, and she's glad that they figured out they'll never take the NXT title from her, but they'll also not take the NXT Tag Team Championships away from Toxic Attraction. This leads us into our first Women's Dusty Cup tag match. Io Shirai and Kaylee Ray defeating Lash Legend and Amari Miller. Lash Legend and Amari Miller did not get an entrance. Instead, they got KLR bombed and a moonsault. Amari Miller took the pin, if I remember correctly. Lash Legend did little to nothing. She did, I think, pump kicks the whole match. Lash Legend is so incredibly green. Like, she's super green. And they were clearly, like, scraping the bottom of the women's division to come up with Lash Legend. She's got some size to her. I mean, at least that. And but she doesn't seem to have the coordination. She doesn't have the coordination in her body yet. I don't know how long she's been training. I think it's only been like a year. So her being terrible at both promo and wrestling, I'm not really a fan of Lash Legend. I'm not ready to send her into the sun yet. But I'm drawing up the blueprints for the Rocket. You know, let's put it like that. I'm looking at all these different reasons why we should throw her into the sun. And I'm saying to myself, you know, a couple of more bad outings, I'm about ready to ship her off, you know, but not quite yet. Dante Chen is back. Dante Chen says that he had a family emergency. So that's when he got attacked by Duke Hudson. And he says it was very cowardly for Duke Hudson to attack him while he had a family emergency and tried to end his career before it really got started. And that he won't be able to sweep Persia Parada off her feet when he has no legs. This leads to Dante Chen versus Duke Hudson, which was the third match on the card. Duke Hudson wins the match with the Razor's Edge because why wouldn't he? Dante Chen attacked him during the entrance. Dante Chen is very plain. He is super plain. Look, he's a blank slate that you can do something with, but he's in no position really to do anything. And Duke Hudson winning pretty convincingly made sense, was the right move, especially since Duke Hudson is involved in a storyline. A storyline which, of course, made wrestling journalists cringe, which, of course, made me laugh my ass off. And, this was good. This was really good stuff. I had a ball with this. So Duke Hudson's in the back, and he just beat Dante Chen. He's feeling himself. Persia Parada comes in and says, "Oh, Duke Hudson, I watched. You did such a great performance. I watched every second of it." And while she's, you know, talking effusively about him, he just kissed her in the mouth, like, right? And Indy Hartwell walks up and is like, "Ew, like, what are you doing?" And Persia was just kind of embarrassed and was like, I gotta go. I gotta get out of here." So Indy, Indy Hartwell says that this is gross. And then, with all the confidence of a PUA, Duke Hudson looks at it. "You used to like it." Oh my God. Holy shit. He's like, "You used to like it," as he unwraps his hand, right? So she said, "Well, that was a long time ago." And he just doesn't have to be. She's stupefied by his charm and his wittiness. This is much better Duke Hudson than whatever the fuck he was doing with Cameron Grimes, okay? This is 100% better. Playboy Duke Hudson, super confident alpha male Duke Hudson. I like this. I like this guy. This guy's a jerk. I love it. You know, this is who he should have been from the beginning. A handsome hunk who, you know, thinks too much of himself. This is excellent. They stumbled upon this maybe, you know, him going away all that time was right. Get rid of that damn poker character that made no sense. This works, right? Because this feels more like him. You know, this is closer to what I saw in Evolve. This is good. So, as Duke Hudson is completely and totally shitting on Indy Hartwell because he is not going to make her, she's not going to make him feel bad about this. Dexter Lumis is over in the corner and the camera finds Dexter Lumis watching, and he is overheard that Indy Hartwell used to bang Duke Hudson. Holy shit. Am I going to be able to get through this? All right, so he's overheard that Indy Hartwell used to bang Duke Hudson. And he just drops his head. And it was the saddest thing in the world, man. It was so funny. It was so sad. How could you get so much life out of a mute character? Like, Dexter Lumis does not talk, but he still has a lot of personality, and he still gets over with his body language. And this worked. This was really good. She's like, Dexter! Oh, Dexter, I'm so sorry, Dexter. And he was like, oh, and he just kind of like a disappointed little kid. Just, and of course, Duke Hudson just stood there, shitting and grin on his face, like, yeah, I ruined this. First try. Fuck this up on my first try. I dig this, man. I don't really care about the whole soap opera aspects of wrestling, but this shit is fucking funny. So I dig it. I'm going with it. I'm on the team, dog. This stuff's great. What's not great, however, Jensen and Briggs doing this farmersonly.com stuff that they up here doing. I have no earthly idea. This is still so cringe. It's incredibly stupid and cringe. They kept going back to it. The crux of it is that now that Jensen is in the friend zone, they wouldn't call it the friend zone. They kept calling it the zone because they're not supposed to admit that it exists in the woke culture. In woke culture, the friend zone don't exist. So they're kind of not saying he's in the friend zone. They're saying he's in the zone. In any event, Briggs decides he's going to help Jensen match with chicks on Tinder and make a social media profile for dating apps or whatever. And Jensen is just socially inept. Like, his brain is inside of his head backwards. So much so that in one cut of this whole ordeal, he actually calls himself Briggs. And he's like, that's my name. And then he's like, oh yeah, that's just your name. And then he says at one point that he likes men too. And they say, but not like that, not like that. Isn't there's anything wrong with that? Which the old Seinfeld joke. Then he, of course, talks about Caden Carter and how much he liked Caden Carter and yada, yada, yada. So it was awful. It was super cringe. It's always cringe, man. These guys are always cringe. Fallon Henley. Well, it feels like I'm supposed to know who that is. Like, I'm supposed to know who Fallon Henley is. She's like an NXT jobber. I have no idea who she is. But she pops up out of nowhere and says, oh, well, you want to make a social media profile. All you got to do is take a picture. And she takes the picture with the camera and says, oh, I'll help you make the social media thing. No problem. And Jensen's like, well, thanks. And then he looks at Briggs, and Briggs admits he put him through this whole ordeal because he finds it entertaining. Just messing with Jensen is entertainment to him. I'm like, some friend this guy is. I mean, it's good natured ribbing. You know, it's like the damn recordings are really going to go up on the site. But it's ridiculous. And clearly we're building up to Fallon Henley being the girl of his dreams the whole time, right? And she being like the girl next door that he's not really all that interested in. But she's going to match with him on the site, and they're going to go on a date. It'll probably be a blind date, and it's going to be, you know, each other and something like that. It's going to be something really cute and interesting. And she'll probably end up getting added to their act. And they desperately need somebody because they're looking real broke back out here. And they're 100% cringe. This Brooks Jensen, 100% cringe. And I can't stand it. I can't stand it. He's so cringe. I know he's just a kid, and they're just doing this stuff to kind of help him get over. But it is 100% certified cringe. I can't stand it. I want them to go away. I'm building a rocket for Jensen and Briggs too. Matter of fact, they can share a rocket with Lash Legend. You know, they're getting very close. Who's not getting into the rocket is Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams. They're so funny. So they cut a promo. It's a celebration, you know, for Carmelo Hayes still in the show, having match of the night. And nobody's talking about Brian Breaker or Pete Dunne. They're talking about the A champ. The A stands for absolute best. He says he's the best in the ring, on the mic, and on the Bird app, which, you know, she goes without mentioning that he dunked on the Acclaim on Twitter. That's why he mentioned that. that was another NXT news and note that the internet is making way too much of. But I decided to just put it here. So apparently Carmelo Hayes was doing the 8-town up, 8-town down thing. And people thought, white people, let's put it like that, they thought he was doing the Acclaimed. So on Twitter, they tweeted at him, oh, we know you are fans of the Acclaimed. And then somebody, I think one of the Acclaimed dudes was like, everybody loves the Acclaimed. And then Carmelo Hayes responded like, oh, I didn't know this was y'all's gimmick. You know, I don't watch the YouTube show. I'm pretty sure some more stuff was said after that. They're probably going to write a rap about him. But it was just some light ribbing. It wasn't nothing too heavy. He didn't dunk on him that hard. But it was a dunk. You know, he got him pretty good. Especially since in the black community, they've been doing Peace Up, 8-town down. They've been doing that shit for, 16 years, 15 years? I've been saying, like, T.I. used to do that shit in, 2005. Even way before that, you know, guys been doing that stuff. Anyway, Pete Dunne came out there, and he still has the charisma of a chalkboard with no chalk. And he says, you said you beat everybody in NXT, but you haven't beaten me. Then says that I don't think the A-Champ should be sitting on the show for WrestleMania season. And said that he wanted to challenge him for a match. So Trick Williams starts to go off on Pete Dunne. And then Mello stops him and calls Pete Dunne Skeet Dunne. And accepts his challenge. So they will be having the match next week, actually. Interesting that they're going to have the North American Championship match so soon. As Trick Williams is about to, once again, fire right into Pete Dunne. He gets attacked by Cameron Grimes. And Cameron Grimes and Trick Williams are fighting as we go to commercial. And then when we come back, the match is official. It's Trick Williams versus Cameron Grimes. So Cameron Grimes looked very weird to me in this situation. I was like, what is going on here? Something's going on with Cameron Grimes. And I'm watching him. And I'm looking at him. And I'm like, there is something definitely different about Cameron Grimes. What is going on here? And I see, okay, well, he's looking like he's gaining a little weight. Not much. A little. But then I realized he shaved his chest. And now he looks a lot like, what was that guy in Snitsky? He looked like Snitsky by the chest. Like Snitsky's chest looked very much like the chest, a bigger version rather, of the chest that Cameron Grimes now currently has. It's like he might have shaved his chest literally this morning. It's very weird. It looks very weird. And the weight gain also looks very weird. Like, I know he might be trying to bulk up, because he's probably about to go to the main roster at some point. But the weight gain, the shaved chests, I'm like, he's looking less and less like Cameron Grimes. Like, the ratty look of Cameron Grimes is the way the character work. The chest hair and the long stringy hair and stuff like that. When they cut the hair at first and the beard, when they got rid of a little bit of the beard and a little bit of the hair, so it was a little bit neater. I like that. It was a nice little change. But now they seem to be changing them a little too much. But Cameron Grimes is kind of lost in the lurch. He did win this match with the cave-in. But he's kind of lost in the lurch because now, he's already lost in his match and his bid to become the North American champion. It's like, so what's his next move? I don't know what his next move is. Maybe it's a triple threat match with Carmelo Hayes, Pete Dunn, and Cameron Grimes. Maybe that's the stand and deliver match. We go here, we run it back. Maybe. I don't really like triple threat matches. We've talked about this before, but I'm willing to accept it. If we don't have anything else for Carmelo Hayes to do. But Carmelo Hayes versus Pete Dunne could be pretty fun. I think they've had matches before. I think they have had a match before. I'm not sure, but this is going to be a pretty fun match. Really enjoyed this. Trick Williams remains hilarious. He just wasn't he was funny this week, with his when Carmelo Hayes said he stole the show, and he was like, "Call the police!" And then Carmelo Hayes was like, "What?" And he was like, "My bad, brother." But he wasn't hysterical like he was the previous weeks. Carmelo Hayes seems to really be finding his own voice now. This was like the first time, I think if he was keeping score, this was the first time Carmelo Hayes kind of, I think, overshot Trick Williams on the mic. As far as, and maybe it was just because Trick Williams just didn't have a lot of lines this time. But he seemed like he wanted to really get into stuff, but he kept getting cut off. So them utilizing Trick Williams more as a wrestler now, I don't know about that. I don't know if he's ready yet, but he got the personality part down pat. All right, so we got a Chase U vignette where he's the lesson of the day was intestinal fortitude. And then he says that Von Wagner has no balls because he challenged him 2 weeks ago and he got no response. And it says that he's clearly an example of a man with no intestinal fortitude. He cussed out some students, kicked one of the students out for saying that he's probably going to get beat up by Von Wagner. Or a student asked, what is he going to do in a match with Von Wagner? I'm going to kick his ass. What do you think? Oh, man. Bodie Hayward was in there playing cheerleader, so it was very interesting. The thing is, intestinal fortitude, intestinal is the guts, he kept saying the balls. He ain't got no balls. That's testicular fortitude. I learned that from Mick Foley when I was like 14. Testicular fortitude. Now we talk about the one thing we've all been waiting for. I know everybody been listening to this. They've been waiting. When is Mongo finally going to start talking about Nikita Lyons? When is we finally going to get to Nikita Lyons? It's your time, dog. Nikita Lyons, that girl came in and she is something else. She's everything, bro. Literally. She's the Power Ranger. She is something else. That girl thick. I'm talking thick as curry. That girl thick. That girl like ooh boy. And she's it's not just butt. She's thick all over, like legs. And everything too, like shoulders and shit. You're like, wow. This girl is built. I'm just like, man, she's tall. I didn't know she was that tall. I was like, wow, she gotta be like a solid 5'8", 5'9", 5'10". So when she said she was a whole lot of woman, she wasn't playing. She was not joking. Not one. That shit was a shoot, brother. You want to shoot since everybody out here shooting? That's a shoot, brother. That girl too much. Man, that girl, ooh, boy. That girl thick as a brake pad. You feel me? I don't know what's up with that. I don't know where the hell she got her from. Where she's modeling. Like, the girl literally does everything that she says she did in her vignette. It sounds like Mary Sue from like a really bad novel or something like that. Like, she's a model and an MMA fighter and a musician and an artist and everything. Now she's a pro wrestler. You're like, damn, how many jobs could one person have? She's got like 100 jobs. It's like that skit from In Living Color. It's like, how many jobs you have? 2. Lazy. So she really impressed me. Nikita Lyons was something else. Like she's a phenomenon. And I looked on the internet, and I'm not the only one. That girl is thick as all the paper and staples. All right. There's a lot of people sitting back in awe of this chick. And deservedly so. I really, like, I'm okay. I'm on the Pog Express from time to time. I like the look of a good Pog for show. But when she did that little rolling stunt after, the other girl did the leapfrog and she did that little roll, I was like, wait a minute. She did a kip up. I'm like, huh? She did the victory roll thing in the corner, the sunset flip, and she did all that stuff really smooth. And her cardio, she didn't blow up. Like, she was running around and not blowing up. Her punches actually looked like they hurt. Her knee strikes were absolutely terrible. But that's wrestling. Like, she has some of the worst knee strikes I've ever seen. If we could delete those knee strikes from this match, it'd have been very good. And Nikita Lyons was so big and so thick that I really didn't pay attention to her opponent at all. I was actually surprised they gave her opponent so much offense. But they gave her a chance to show off too. So this was a pretty good debut. It was a little long for my liking, but they really wanted to show off what Nikita Lyons can do. And they went with Big Booty Power Ranger because she was doing spin kicks and, practicing her punches. Her punches looked better than Rhea Ripley. Not Rhea Ripley, but Ronda Rousey's punches. I think they're both judoka too. Like, she did a judo throw earlier in the match. But the one thing that impressed me most about Nikita Lyons wasn't her thickness or even her agility. It was the fact that she actually does have charisma. Like, that's the thing that you need among everything else. She has charisma. She was able to get the crowd rowdy. Like, the crowd was really into her. When they saw that she was more than just a look. Like, when she was able to actually do stuff, people got really behind her. And she took it in stride. Like, she had little moves here and there. And I was like, yeah, this might be the one. I like this. This is the Power Ranger right here. This is what I was looking for. She did her little spin kick, and then she did the big split splash, big split leg drop. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. She's it. She's it. Like, she does outside of, in a weird way. And I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but she reminds me a lot of Nia Jax, except for she's so much better, in terms of she's got size to her. She's a little bit smaller than Nia Jax, but she's thick. Like, she's not fat. She's thick. And she's bigger than pretty much everybody else. She's a big girl. I don't know how tall she is, but she's a big girl. All right. And when she did that split, I was like, oh, buddy. It was like that wolf from the Looney Tunes. My eyes came out of my head. My tongue rolled around the goddamn living room. I was like, God damn. Why? Woo. Oh, boy. Shit, man. Why would you present this to the American public? You should keep this to yourself. You got a weapon like that going on, man. She's something else. All right, so Nikita Lyons makes a successful debut. She wins her match with hopefully the spin kick is going to end up being her finish. But everybody bought in. I don't know if I've seen anybody who said anything negative about Nikita Lyons. They better not say nothing negative about her in my presence. I can tell you that much. Not when you keep all your teeth. Anyway, let's move on. I lost my place. Start talking about Nikita Lyons. Jesus Christ. The Creed Brothers. The Creed Brothers came out there to celebrate their Dusty Cup Championship win. Malcolm Bivens cut a promo saying that Imperium wants you to believe that they're world-class athletes, but it was the Creed Brothers that were in the NCAA and did the Olympic trials. The Imperium wants you to believe that they're world champions, but they have never won the Dusty Classic. Imperium wants you to believe that they're fighting champions, but they haven't defended those titles in weeks. And now he says that the Diamond Mine is the real thing, and that Gunna is going to have to figure it out. Call him Gunna. So Gunther interrupted and says that he's going to respect his name, which people chanted Walter at him. Then he says that they give credit to the Creeds, but they're nowhere they're going to beat Imperium. Then Fabian Eichner and Marcel Martel get into a fight with the Creed brothers. While they're fighting, Walter moves in on Malcolm Bivens. He's going to tear Malcolm Bivens' head off. Bivens continues to be the meme lord that he really is with being scared of Gunther. He corners himself, and Gunther reaches back in order to chop Malcolm Bivens, and Solo Sikoa grabs his hand. Solo Sikoa hits a couple of punches, and then boom, with a shuffle sidekick, and Gunther actually goes down. And everybody's like, oh. I saw a lot of people get upset about this. We'll talk about it in a second. So, Gunther was down, and later, Solo Sikoa says he wanted to pick a fight with the biggest, baddest dude in NXT, but he just did that and put him on his ass, and said next week he's gonna get a little bit more. Malcolm Bivens shows up. Malcolm Bivens thanks Solo Sikoa for saving him, even though he had Gunther right where he wanted him, and said, "You got the juice now, oos," and put his hand up. And Solo Sikoa said, "I ain't do that for you. I did that for me." So, a lot of people were upset to see Gunther get knocked down by Solo Sikoa. My thing is, why not give Solo Sikoa a little bit of something going into the match? Because we know he's not going to win it, right? Nobody believes that Gunther, Walter, is going to do a job to Solo Sikoa. This is going to be Solo Sikoa getting chopped to death. That being said, it gives him a little bit of credibility that he could attack Gunther from behind and knock him down. You have to put the situation in context. He attacked him from behind and knocked him down. It's not that big of a deal. Please relax. All right. I know Walter has this sizable fan base on the internet. Please relax. All right. Please relax. Walter is still dressing like Hank Hill. I don't know why he's doing that. I wish somebody would stop him. I wish somebody would dress this man. You have so many people walking around. Why is this dude dressed like a SmackDown referee? We need to do something else. All right. Please get this guy to wear a suit or a tracksuit. I love the tracksuits. Why do we move away from the tracksuits? I don't know why they want him to look like a guy you meet in the laundromat. Like, why would you want him to dress like that? Stop doing that. Please stop doing that. And the weird thing is he's dressed just like Joe Gacy. And Joe Gacy also walks around like, PC Principal from South Park. I mean, let's not do this. But at least it fits Joe Gacy's character. Like, he's a creep. So, Joe Gacy cuts a promo. He's talking about him and Harlan going to have a conversation, a late night rendezvous in the middle of the Performance Center with Draco Anthony. And he narrates this conversation with Draco Anthony because we're not allowed to see it. But, we saw it, but there was no sound. He said that him and Draco Anthony had a dispute. And Harlan and Draco Anthony is on the other side of the dispute. And then next week they're going to solve their problems. And he's going to teach Draco Anthony that it's better to have friends than to be walking through this world alone. Then he also said that Draco Anthony was like a big ball of clay, ready to be molded in the right hands. So we're teasing that Joe Gacy's going to end up, I don't want to say kidnapping, let's say brainwashing Draco Anthony. Maybe they'll take Draco Anthony and throw him off the roof. I don't want to see that. The guy's pretty young. I think he was in the military for a little while. I don't want him to get thrown off a roof. But it's certainly a possibility. All right, so the last thing we got here is the final women's Dusty Cup match. Ivy Nile and Tatum Paxley were defeated by Kaden Carter and Casey Catanzaro with the net breaker 450 combination. This match was fun. Tatum Paxley, I watched her on Level Up. I forget what her I think she was on the Independence. I forget what her name was, or I wish she did. But Tatum Paxley is quite the name. That's quite the name. Katie Carter and Casey Catanzaro came out to sparkly. They had like guns and blowing stuff in the air. I don't know what was going on. It was real extra. Casey Catanzaro also now has red and white hair. I don't know. But this match was specifically great for the conversation that involved I should have mentioned this during the Briggs and Jensen segment, but I didn't want these two things to be too close to each other. So I separated them. So I don't want to. But they're talking about how to get women. Vic Joseph and Wade Barrett. And as this match is going on, by the way, so Wade Barrett says you have to buy them nice things. You have to subscribe to OnlyFans. And Vic Joseph calls Wade Barrett a simp. he said he's exhibiting simp behavior. Oh my God, bro. How could you not love NXT, man? Vic Joseph called that man a simp. Like, bro. But tell them to subscribe, to buy girl stuff, be nice to them, and to subscribe to their OnlyFans. Why would you subscribe to their OnlyFans? Holy shit. This is the best show on TV. This is a great fucking show, man. Oh my God, bro. Everything except the Briggs and Jensen stuff, man, is comedy. Absolute comedy. I never not have fun with NXT. It's fun. It's a fun fucking show, man. Oh my God. He called that man a simp. Anyway. All right. This is a very long NXT review, which included the news and notes. Thank you guys for your time. What do you guys think of Nikita Lyons? She's the one. She's got it all, man. Mostly, I'm impressed by the agility and the charisma. I already knew what she looked like, but the agility and the charisma, I wasn't expecting that. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe. And I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace out.